And good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Washington Wrestle Talk podcast. I am your host, the heavy metal Jesus, the rock and roll icon, the hard rock oddity, the one, the only, Mr. Michael Jolly. Thank you so much for tuning in, listening, wherever you may be. If you may be listening to this live on Spreaker, iHeartRadio, or wherever you may get your podcast fix. I am here today in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. It's been a great trip. I go home tomorrow. But I have a very special guest lined up. But before I do that, I do want to say hello to my two patrons. Of course, I'm talking about Mr. Hans Vanderkill, and of course, my anonymous patron, who, out of privacy and I respect privacy, shall remain anonymous. And of course, I want to say hello to my Brew Crew family. I don't have time to name you all off because I got to get my guest on here. So, and of course, you can always check out the sponsor of my show here, Rep Sports. Go to repsports.com and you will receive 15% off your order when you use the coupon code Washington Wrestle Talk. So, without further delay, let's see if we can't get our guest on the line today. And today's guest is actually going to be Joe, and I think we got him on the line.
Hello.
Hey, Joe, how's it going?
Doing well.
And welcome to the Washington Wrestle Talk podcast.
I appreciate it.
So, first question out of the gate is, how are you today?
I'm doing pretty well. A little tired.
Yeah, a little tired. How you holding up?
My 2-year-old's been sick, so...
Oh, yeah. I just got word earlier today that a buddy of mine back home tested positive for COVID.
Oh.
So, yeah, that's going to be fun when I get home. I fly out of Milwaukee here tomorrow at 6 p.m. So that'll be fun. So, tell us a little bit about yourself.
This is always the hardest question to do. Lifelong pro wrestling fan, of course. Early age, I got into Glow, which kind of got me into the female fighting industry pretty early. It's always a hard question. I apologize. I never describe myself very much.
Yeah, that's one of the basic questions I like to ask my guests is, tell us a little bit about yourself, how you got in on the female fighting blog that you started.
The blog is Lady one second. I've got a 2-year-old and he's got a tablet and he pushes random buttons.
Yay!
There you go.
Yay!
Earlier this year, I met Lady O Yanka. I pronounce her name. I can never. Lady O.
Oh yes.
On Twitter. And we were talking, and about June, July, I told her how much fun I think it'd be to be part of the industry, and I gave her the idea of doing the blog, and she told me to run with it. And I haven't looked back since. I started on Blogger, which is totally free, and I was getting 150 views a day, but I couldn't put any ads on there because it was adult content, so I was restricted. So I found my own admin, and ever since, man, my numbers have gone up crucially. So I definitely did the right choice doing my own web hosting.
Yeah. So who are you hosting it through now?
Let me get the name here, because big props to them because they're really inexpensive. Skystra.
Huh. So
I spend $12 a month for my website.
Well, that's not bad at all.
No, and their customer service is top notch. I've never had any problems. If I do, they answer within like 10, 15 minutes and fix it.
So I've got a lot of questions here for you.
Oh, dang.
Of course, some of them were sent in from your friend and mine, Mr. Clement himself.
Yeah. Okay.
Who's a big fan of my show, has been on my show a couple of times, actually. So, of course, one of my anonymous patron sent in quite a few questions for you. So the first question is, what does the female fighting industry need more or less of, in your opinion?
Oh. I might get some backlash for this, but we need more true fighters. Like, we have a lot of glamour models and stuff, who fight. But we need fighters. You know who Valor is? Valor Catfights?
Yes.
Pound for pound, I think she is the best fighter in the industry right now, but she doesn't get the recognition she deserves.
No. I notice there's a lot of other ones that do.
Yes. And no discredit to them. They're all doing great, but, I just feel people like Valor, Sexy Wife is doing pretty damn good. I can't say much about her. She's excellent. Yeah,
and it's funny. She just started doing this year.
Yeah, I know. You can't tell. And Gia Love, same thing. She's just starting into it, and she's doing fantastic.
Yeah, Gia's been a guest on the show a few times. Going to have her back on at some point, probably when I get back home. But yeah, she's a friend of the show. I always love having her on. The next question here is, what are your goals for your blog?
My main goal in my blog was just to help the industry, and it was never intended to be a moneymaker, which is not. I spent a lot of money on my clips, my $12 a month on my web hosting, but my goal was just to promote companies I enjoy, help them during this pandemic.
Yeah, and this pandemic's really caused a lot of people, grief.
It has.
Thankfully, I'm not one of those people, between being a podcaster in my, quote, free time and having my normal 9-to-5 job working as a retail pharmacy technician in Portland, Oregon, where the area I live in. So I've been very fortunate with that. So you're just trying to get like companies that don't get the recognition.
Right.
For example, like Sexy Husband and Sexy Wife, when they promote their stuff.
Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of a lot of the fans prefer the real. I'm actually more of a scripted fan. There's a lot of companies out there who do a good job, but are always pushed off to the side because they're not filming real fights; they're only filming scripted.
So the next question here is, please give a few female fighters you would enjoy seeing battle and what style of fight. And I think you pretty much answered that with, the non-scripted style. Mm-hmm. So who would you think would make a good matchup?
Ooh. For a real fight, Valor Catfights versus Sarah Brooke.
Oh yes, that would be good. I've seen Sarah, some of Sarah's fights. I saw her fight that she had with Kat in Pittsburgh last year. I saw the fight that she did with Mia Annabella. What other fights have I seen of hers? I've seen a couple of her fights, but that would be an interesting one. What about Sarah Brooke versus Sexy Wife?
Ooh, that'll definitely be a good one, too. I know they're both Florida-based, which will be pretty easy to set up. 1 second.
Sure. There's a knock at the door.
That's to be while I'm on a phone call. Okay. I'll give it a second.
That's fine. Leave them out so you can leave your room door open.
Yeah. Sorry about that, Mike.
Oh, no worries, Joe. No worries. But before I get any further, as some of my listeners know, I'm a big beer connoisseur, and I've had my fair share of some good Milwaukee brews here this week. But I found something that's local to me here in Milwaukee. It's from Sierra Nevada. It's called Hazy Little Thing IPA, and I think I'm going to... Oh, that sounds so nice. Who are your favorite producers / companies, and why?
1 second, I can barely hear you. My son decided to put his tablet right next to my face. Okay, what was the question again?
So, the next question he asks is, who are your favorite producers and companies, and why?
Okay. Pretty simple question. one of the first ones I ever used is a company out of South Carolina called Seductive Studios. They're the first custom company I ever used. They're local, literally just local models having fun. Prices are good, and the quality is outstanding. But probably my all-time personal favorite right now is Modest Moms out of California.
Oh, yes.
Alexandria Hamilton. With
Alex. Alex is a good friend. She's been on the show, trying to get her back on the show at some point. What is your take on, Tilly Town with Tilly McGrease?
Tilly's great. I actually kind of work a side project with her.
Yeah, Tilly's really cool. She's expressed an interest in coming on the show as well. So I look forward to that.
I've actually been working a side project with her. A lot of her videos you see on Clip for Sales, all that. I'm writing the descriptions for her.
Oh, that's cool. So, question number 5.
Okay.
How can we support your blog?
What's that? I'm sorry.
His question is, how can we support your blog?
Really don't support me. My blog is not my biggest worry. Support the companies I promote. Financially, I'm not hurting anything. My blog is not meant to make money. But if as long as you view it and you're helping to pay for these other videos and the companies, you keep my blog alive.
So you hear that, ladies and gentlemen? Help the companies, and that's what keeps him going, which is good. And, we need more people like Joe here, more people, listening to, the After Hours Session podcast, listening to this podcast. It's all about the support we get, Am I wrong on that? Am I wrong on that point?
Yes. Oh, no.
And now, question number 6 for him. In addition to Twitter, where do you promote your blog?
At this time, only Twitter.
So no other social medias like, say, Instagram?
Not yet. I'm kind of lacking on social media. I've never been that good at it. So until I got better, I just concentrated on just one platform.
Yeah, I actually, and I'm with you on that one, because when I started this podcast, it's been almost 2 years now, I started off as a pro wrestling podcast. And it wasn't until I, started covering things like the LFC. And, when I started covering the LFC, that's when all the doors just opened. And then I started doing interviews with, a lot of session wrestlers, cat fighters. And it's just been a blast. And so that's when I, finally decided to get, a website, WashingtonWrestleTalk.com, Instagram. All right, so those were the first 6 questions that the readers or the listeners have sent in. We're going to get to Mr. Clem's questions here.
Okay. Okay.
He's only got 4 questions, so we're off the hook here. And ladies and gentlemen, don't forget to send in your questions to WashingtonWrestleTalk@gmail.com for my guest today, Mr. Joe. Is it Jarrell?
Jarrell, Superman's dad, Jarrell.
Jarrell. He hosts the Fantasy Slugfest review blog. He writes for that. Having a great time talking with him today. I hear little one in the little mini Joe in the background there.
That is definitely my twin. But he acts like his mom, so he looks like me, but acts like her.
It's not always the way with kids, though. I mean, people said this.
1 second, Mike.
Yeah.
I'm going to take him upstairs. I'll be right back.
All righty. And thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, for listening today, wherever you may be getting your podcast fix, whether it's on the Spreaker website, go to Spreaker.com/Washington Wrestle Talk. You can join in the chat room there and, chat with with me as I'm podcasting, and you can ask your questions there. You can email your questions to WashingtonWrestleTalk@gmail.com.